This program is about unsolved mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you are about to see is not a news broadcast.
Tonight's cases feature ordinary people thrust into a vortex of mystery, heartbreak, and intrigue. Each one is searching for that vital clue to end a story that so far has no ending. Perhaps you can help. Join me. You may be able to help solve a mystery. Tonight, a special report on one of the most fascinating mysteries of this century, the case of Rudolf Hess, Adolf Hitler's second-in-command. Hess shocked the world in 1941 by flying to Britain on a secret peace mission. This special segment takes us to Scotland and Germany, where experts claim that it was not Hess who made that momentous flight, but a double impersonating him. Also, two other intriguing mysteries needing but one final clue to solve them. Someone watching tonight may know the truth. In 1933, Adolf Hitler seizes total power in Germany. By his side, Deputy Reichsführer Rudolf Hess, his closest confidant. Hess would come to figure in one of the most remarkable mysteries of World War II.
Ist Hitler! Hitler aber ist Deutschland, wie Deutschland Hitler ist! Hitler, Sieg! Sieg!
Rudolf Hess is in Britain. In a Messerschmitt, he flew from Bavaria straight to Scotland, landing by parachute near Glasgow.
1941. The world is astounded to learn that Rudolf Hess has been captured in Scotland while attempting to deliver a peace proposal to secret contacts in the British government.
Defendant Rudolf Hess, on the counts of the indictment on which you have been convicted, the tribunal sentences you to imprisonment for life.
1946, Nuremberg. Rudolf Hess is sentenced to life in West Berlin's Spandau prison. 1987, Rudolf Hess is found dead in Spandau's prison garden. Though the cause of death is officially declared as suicide, his family and experts are convinced that he was murdered.
I have no sympathy for the Nazi past or any crimes that Hess may have committed, but he was a human being. And he deserves the dignity, at least, to find out if he was murdered, who did it?
The story of Rudolf Hess is a mystery that spans almost 50 years. Not only do some experts believe he was murdered in prison, but startling evidence suggests that the man of Spandau was not the real Rudolf Hess. What ties these events together is a global conspiracy that began at the start of World War II. It may still be going on today. Rudolf Hess was incarcerated in Berlin's Spandau prison from 1947 until his death. He was aloof, keeping his distance from fellow prisoners and his warders.
The x-rays are fine, Doctor. You can...
In September 1973, a British surgeon named Hugh Thomas made a detailed physical examination of Hess. Thomas had earlier studied Hess's medical records and expected to find scars from bullet wounds Hess had received in the First World War.
There were no scars, no bullet wounds, nor was there any evidence of an operation. They're not things that you can miss. At West Germany's Berlin Document Center, Thomas uncovered the original World War I military records of Rudolf Hess. For the first time, I became very, very seriously concerned about the identity of the man in Spandau. The record showed that he'd sustained a through shot through the lung in the First World War. So I'm left with a situation whereby a man has total evidence in surgical terms of no wounding and total evidence in documentary terms of such wounding. It can't be the same man.
If the man Dr. Thomas examined at Spandau was not Rudolf Hess, then who was he? The answer may lie in a series of events that took place in May of 1941. On May 10th of that year, Rudolf Hess told his wife that he planned to fly to Berlin for an important meeting and that he would be home in 3 days. They would not see one another again for 28 years.
The facts are that at 17:45 hours, the real Rudolf Hess took off from Augsburg in Bavaria, southern part of Germany, flying north in a Messerschmitt 110D. We know the aircraft. It had the serial number 1545 and the letters NJC11 on the side. He was tracked by German radar and defense controllers right across Germany and across occupied Europe, and just after 7:30 that evening was lost to German radar going north over the North Sea.
Four and a half hours after Rudolf Hess left Germany, a lone Messerschmitt was picked up on British radar heading towards Scotland. At approximately 11 p.m., the Scottish farmer caught sight of an aircraft descending rapidly.
Right, pal, hands up. You German?
Jawohl. I am Hauptmann Alfred Horn.
The pilot gave his name as Alfred Horn. He asked for a meeting with the Duke of Hamilton, a member of the British Parliament who lived in the area.
Hands on the table. T-shirt.
Surprisingly, the man calling himself Alfred Horn carried no identification, but he was wearing the uniform of a Luftwaffe officer. The next morning, a meeting was arranged with the Duke of Hamilton, who was at the time serving as an officer in the Royal Air Force.
As you were, gentlemen. So, you're Captain Horn, and I believe you want to see me.
Sir, I am not Captain Horn. I am Deputy Reichsführer Rudolf Hess.
I don't recognize you, sir.
I am here on a mission of humanity from the Führer. The Führer fears that...
Hamilton ultimately was convinced that the prisoner was Rudolf Hess, but Winston Churchill remained suspicious. He sent Ivan Kirkpatrick, a diplomat who knew Hess personally, to meet with the prisoner. Kirkpatrick thought the man was indeed Rudolf Hess. Hugh Thomas disagrees.
The mistakes made by the man when he arrived were incredible. He claimed that he was born in 1899, and when he first landed said 1897, when in actual fact the real Hess's age, as you know, was 1894. So there's a discrepancy there.
It is thought that Hitler and other members of the Nazi elite used doubles for security reasons. Thomas believes that a double was recruited to impersonate Hess on the flight to Scotland. Photographs taken upon Hess's departure support this theory, as they appear to show a different plane from the one that crash-landed in Scotland.
The plane that took off in Germany was marked NJC11. Now, the reason we know that is that it was photographed taking off, and also Helmut Carden, one of the airport assistants there at the time, logged it in his book, whereby he denoted NJC-11 was the plane that took off. The plane that landed in Scotland was marked on the side of the fuselage VJ or NJ-OQ, a totally different plane.
The first people to get to the wreckage found an aircraft that it was almost intact. The machine guns in the nose were still packed with grease. They'd never been used. This was obviously an aircraft that was so new it hadn't yet been devoted to operational work. British researchers know that that aircraft was based at a fighter airfield in northern Denmark called Aalborg. It was tracked in from that direction, and there really seems no reason to doubt that it came from Denmark rather than Germany.
There is more evidence that a double had replaced the real Hess. Hess was a skilled pilot, yet the man who flew to Scotland made a number of elementary mistakes.
The man who approached Britain and flew over Scotland was an amateur in every sense of the word. He did everything wrong. He approached the British coast at the ideal height to be intercepted by radar instead of under it. Then he power dived using far too much fuel, and then he flew at only 50 feet across the Scottish borders. Now that meant that people on the ground could observe the aircraft and track it every step of the way, but the pilot was too low to even pick up his landmarks. So whoever he was an amateur pilot.
If the man who landed in Scotland was a double, how and why was this deception engineered? The answer may lie with the only man in the Third Reich more feared than Adolf Hitler, the master of the dreaded SS, Heinrich Himmler. In a moment, we will examine a theory that Himmler may have been at the center of a conspiracy that reached from Hitler's inner circle to England's House of Parliament. Rudolf Hess had been Hitler's closest confidant, but at the beginning of World War II, his influence began to wane. Part of the reason can be traced to SS Reichsführer Heinrich Himmler.
Hess had come to power purely by being one of the first of Hitler's loyal supporters. In such a position, he was obviously a threat to Himmler, who aspired to gain control of all of the Reich. And from that point of view, he was hated. So, in essence, he was part of a power struggle.
Mein Führer, meine Herren.
Hess, ich freue mich. Nehmen Sie Platz, bitte.
Danke.
In early 1941, Hitler's inner circle, including Himmler, were planning for the invasion of the Soviet Union.
Die volle Stärke unserer Wehrmacht gezeigt. Und ich bin der Meinung, dass wir auch schnell Frankreich ganz besetzt
Reichsführer, darf ich Sie unterbrechen? Bevor wir irgendeine Aktion starten, müssen wir zunächst einmal unsere Aktivitäten mit England normalisieren.
Hess argued that peace with England must be secured before this attack, and had secretly attempted to contact members of British Parliament. Himmler may have sensed an opportunity to eliminate his rival.
Himmler had a double ready at hand, and he used this double in conjunction with Goering to actually supplant Hess, get rid of Hess, kill off Hess, and put the double into England to carry over peace proposals to the English hierarchy.
According to this theory, if the double's initial peace overtures had been successful, Himmler would have stepped in, finished the negotiations, and claimed the credit. Hugh Thomas believes that Adolf Hitler was unaware that Himmler was secretly in contact with a clique of highly placed Nazi sympathizers in Britain. According to Thomas, some were members of Parliament, and they plotted to depose Churchill and make their own separate peace with Germany. During the war, both Franklin Roosevelt and Joseph Stalin were suspicious of the official British account of the Hess affair. Stalin was convinced that the British were plotting a separate peace with Germany. Dr. Thomas believes that he was correct.
The Hess affair is the key to the understanding of the whole plot that was hatched by 30 or so of the top-ranking British hierarchical figures in the country, designed to unite Nazi Germany and Britain against Soviet Russia and stop the war so that expansion into Russia by Germany could exist. There's no question that had the Hess affair gone to fruition, had Himmler's plan gone right, the result would have been a Nazi Anglo bloc which would have ruled the world.
But the plan didn't work. Churchill refused to meet with Hess, and his peace overture was rejected. Despondent, Hess attempted suicide a few days later. Intelligence officers and psychiatrists continually interrogated the prisoner. He claimed amnesia and refused to answer the questions. In 1945, Hess was brought home to Germany for the beginning of the Nuremberg trial. During this trial, Hess was forced to meet with two of his former secretaries. Officials hoped this confrontation would jog his memory.
Guten Tag, Fräulein. Gnädige Frau.
Guten Tag. Sie sind guten?
Ich bin sehr gut, danke.
Ich bin da dünn.
Nein, ich sehr gut.
5 Jahre?
Damen, ich nicht erinnern.
The prisoner's most significant lack of recognition is that of his secretaries. And these women were greatly disturbed and greatly upset and kept on at the old man to try and recognize them.
Hierover. Dat is der Sohn.
Damen, ich kann nicht.
One of them showed him a picture of his son, whom he didn't recognize. Yet he'd carried a picture of that son with him, supposedly on his flight to England. So the man was behaving in a very bizarre fashion.
Gehen Sie fort, bitte. Gehen Sie fort, Dame, bitte.
The two secretaries left, upset, but still certain that the man they had met was Rudolf Hess. Hess was sentenced to life imprisonment in the converted fortress in West Berlin known as Spandau Prison. Hess's new home was to be jointly administered by the United States, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. One by one, Spandau's 6 other Nazi prisoners had died or had been released, but Rudolf Hess had his freedom blocked by a Soviet veto. In 1966, he was Spandau's only prisoner at a cost of over $1 million per year.
Rudolf Hess loved to walk in the garden, this long trail, about 267 paces around. To me, he lived in a world by himself. For the first 2 years in my talking with Hess, I never got beyond food, health, and weather, and everything was bad. It took me 2 years to even talk to him about anything political. He lived in this eggshell. Time seemed to have stood still for him since 1941, since his flight.
By the late 1960s, Hess's health had greatly deteriorated. Even so, he refused all visits with his family.
The reason why I didn't accept visits beforehand was simply that the surrounding and the circumstances under which these visits take place in Spandau were so bad that he said it's better not to see each other and to write. And after having paid these visits after 1969, I can only completely agree with him.
In December 1969, when Hess's health became critical, he finally agreed to meet with his family. It had been 28 years since Frau Hess had seen her husband. Her son Wolf had last seen his father at the age of 3. During this reunion, the family was not allowed to touch one another or to discuss anything pertaining to Hess's past. Despite the fact that she felt his voice was lower in pitch, Frau Hess still felt the man at Spandau was her husband.
It's been very difficult for me in prison. It's depressing here. It's cold, damp. I didn't want you to be upset. The atmosphere is bad.
I was expecting a very difficult situation with all the boarders and the directors sitting around. And they knew that under the circumstances, the possibilities to really learn to know him were limited.
Mother misses you so much.
It can't be helped, my son.
I have the impression that my father was keeping some secret which he was not able to relieve to anybody. And this is the reason why he was kept so long in prison and finally was murdered in prison.
August 17th, 1987. At approximately 2:30 in the afternoon, 93-year-old Rudolf Hess went out for his daily walk in his beloved prison garden. Soviet authorities had indicated to Hess's son that General Secretary Gorbachev was on the verge of allowing his father's release. Hess was accompanied by an American guard, and as he continued his stroll, the guard became distracted. Several minutes later, the guard looked for his prisoner. He soon found him. Rudolf Hess was lying on the floor of a garden shed, electrical cord wrapped around his neck. The official inquiry declared that Rudolf Hess had committed suicide, but almost immediately, charges surfaced that Hess had been murdered.
Okay, who was on duty?
I was, sir.
What happened?
Now, there are so many things against him committing suicide. He could hardly open his hands because of arthritis that he was suffering under. And he couldn't raise his arms above shoulder level. Now, the final report came out. It said that he'd hung himself from that little lean-to in the garden that he was sitting under, where he was found dead. Well, to do that, he's going to have to raise those hands, isn't he, above his head to put that cord around something to hang himself. He wasn't capable of doing that. I think he was murdered. I don't know who did it, but that's my true conviction.
There is every evidence that he was murdered. But further than that, disturbingly, the cable that was actually used to murder him was the first thing to be destroyed on the specific orders of the British military governor. And the British military governor also ordered the shed burnt down. As well as that, they refused all measures of identification of the prisoner.
Hess's family insisted on conducting their own autopsy and secured the services of a Dr. Spahn, a noted German forensic pathologist. His report showed bruises inconsistent with the official verdict of suicide.
The deep bruising on the neck, and especially...
The final autopsy by Dr. Spahn shows quite clearly that the man was strangled, and the degree of deep bruising and fracturing of the bones in the neck also indicates that he was strangled very forcibly.
Dr. Thomas is convinced that the prisoner at Spandau was murdered before his release to keep him from revealing the treasonous conduct of his secret British contacts during the war.
If the prisoner had ever revealed his part in these negotiations, it would have led to the discovery of the whole plot. It would have led to the exposure of 30 extremely powerful personages whose relatives, even if they don't still exist themselves, are still in control, in hierarchical control of much of British finance and government. And that would be totally and utterly unacceptable to any British government.
If the prisoner Spandau was Rudolf Hess, as his family and the authorities claim, then why were there no scars on his chest from his World War I bullet wounds? Why did his plane take off from Germany with one set of serial numbers and land in Scotland with another? But if the prisoner at Spandau was an imposter, why did he remain silent for 46 years? The remains of prisoner number 7 rest in this small Bavarian cemetery. But who really lies in this grave? Rudolf Hess, or an imposter? A willing participant in a global conspiracy of vast proportions? The only man who could answer these questions was silenced before he could speak. The inscription on his grave reads simply, "It was worth the risk." History may never know what truly lies behind those words. One final footnote to the story. The official British file on the Hess affair was scheduled to be made public in 1971. But that year, only selected portions were released, the rest remaining classified at the order of the British government. It was further stipulated that this sensitive material remain locked up until the year 2016. Next, the story of a woman who walked away from a terrible car crash in rural Montana and has not been seen since. Her family believes she may be suffering from amnesia. April 20th, 1989, a lonely country road near Circle, Montana. At approximately 8:15 in the evening, Peggy Bueller was driving towards nearby Great Falls to visit her sister. Peggy's mother and father were with her. Behind her was another car, driven by Carol Heights, an off-duty police dispatcher. Carol could see Peggy's car clearly. Then she saw a car approaching in the wrong lane. Bueller's car narrowly missed a head-on collision. Carol pulled over to the side of the road, but it was too late. Peggy's father took the wheel from his shaken daughter and headed back down the road. Carol had emerged from the wreckage dazed, but not seriously injured. Then a woman emerged out of the darkness. It was the driver of the car that had hit her.
She just stared. Never said anything, nothing, just stared at me. I will never forget her.
Then the Buellers arrived. Peggy's father went to assist the victims, and she began to go for help. But before Peggy drove off, she too saw the mysterious woman.
As I looked out across the accident, I noticed someone on the other side of the fence standing there like a spectator, not like that it had happened to her.
The woman vanished into the night. But within half an hour, police had traced the car to its owner, 38-year-old Patricia Meehan. They immediately began to search for her.
We didn't know what was out there. We didn't know whether we were looking for a hurt person, sick person, or a fugitive. So 4 officers and myself proceeded in, and we proceeded in behind the dog. And approximately 3/4 of a mile from the scene, we picked up some tennis shoe tracks, about a size 6 that appeared to be fairly narrow, belonging either to a young boy or probably a woman.
At 3 a.m., Patricia's tracks disappeared, and the search was suspended until the following morning. For 5 days, this intensive search continued, from land and from the air. All that was ever found were Patricia's original tracks. 2 theories were developed to explain how she eluded her trackers. The first is that she may have stowed away on a hay truck that was parked about a half a mile from the accident. The other theory is that Patricia simply hitched a ride out of the area.
She was a very caring individual. Never wanted to hurt anyone, and here she had a very traumatic accident where she may have thought instantly that she hurt or killed another person, and her mind blocked that out. She had walked away from the scene of that accident and has not been found since.
Since her disappearance, Patricia Meehan has been spotted throughout the United States, but has made no attempt to contact her family and friends. At first, it was thought that her flight was an attempt to evade prosecution for leaving the scene of an accident. But eyewitness reports of Patricia's increasingly strange behavior had given police and psychiatrists good reason to believe that she is no fugitive. Patricia Meehan may be suffering from a rare and dangerous form of amnesia. Born in Pennsylvania, Patricia moved to Oklahoma to attend college in preparation for a career in daycare. She worked in that field until 1985, and then, due to her love of animals, moved to Montana to work on a ranch. Before her disappearance, family and friends noticed that Patricia had become depressed, withdrawn.
She was, I guess, taking all her own life. What had she accomplished? I think she missed having children, because I think now she found out she really does love them.
After Patricia disappeared, her family found a roll of undeveloped film still in her camera. In this haunting self-portrait, she looks out at a world that she may have decided to abandon.
It appears that Pat was experiencing a very difficult time in her life and was involved in a rather dramatic accident, which may have involved a head injury. The combination of these factors may have caused amnesia. She does not know who she is, has lost memories of the past, and is out searching for herself throughout the country.
Since her accident, Patricia has been spotted at least 100 times between Montana and Seattle, mainly at truck stops. But Patricia has managed to hitchhike out of the area before authorities and her family were able to intercept her.
I don't know how she's eating. I don't know where she's sleeping. From the sightings, quite a few of them, she was seen crying. And that really hurts when I hear this. Any mother would be afraid for her child. I don't care what age she is. And it seems like she needs help more than ever now.
One of the confirmed sightings of Patricia occurred in May of 1989 in Bozeman, Montana. Ironically, this was only a few miles from her home.
Morning. One today? Can I get in and out of here fast?
Yeah. Patty came in the door and wanted to be sat quickly and served quickly. She asked me if she would be able to be out of there in rather of a hurry, and I said, well, we do breakfast in 10 minutes. You'll be out very quickly. And then I made a comment to her that she must have to be back to work at 9 o'clock since it was almost 9. It was about 8:30, 20 till. She said, no, I'm just going shopping. I couldn't understand what it was so important for her to be there right at 9 o'clock to go shopping, you know, when she was in such a huge hurry.
How are you this morning? Did you tell me that she was staying on?
Waitress Brenda Clements also noticed that Patricia was acting strangely.
What stood out in my mind is that she seemed really disorientated, really spacey, and just looking off into space. And I heard her like talking to herself, but I really didn't hear what she was saying because they had other people and other customers to take care of. She sat at that table for an hour and a half or more, easily. She was just, you know, looking out the window, looking at people walking by. That's when I walked up to her and I asked her, are you okay?
Everything okay?
Are you okay?
Are you sure?
And I was just wondering if there's anything I could do, you know, because she was just like lost. I felt like she didn't know where she was or who she was.
From all the evidence, Patricia's condition is not improving. If she is not treated soon, the damage could be irreparable. For when and if Patricia's memories return, the shock could threaten her sanity.
Well, more than anything else in the world, I want her back with us. And we would then know that she'd be safe, not knowing who's she going to get a ride from. And that's my biggest worry, I think. Just prays on your mind day in and day out. And you pray to God and hope that she's with some good people.
In a moment, the story of a woman found murdered after she was seen with a man at a local supermarket. Was he a friend or an unknown killer? Arlington, Virginia, May 11th, 1988, 3 a.m. Police arrive at a local schoolyard where the body of a young woman has been found. She has been raped and shot once at point-blank range. Homicide detectives Bob Carrig and Gay Mercer set about examining the physical evidence.
I think when you arrive at a crime scene at 3 o'clock in the morning and you find a young woman shot to death, she was sexually assaulted and then murdered, I think you start out with kind of a sick feeling in your stomach, kind of a disgust for crime in general. Her jacket here looks like bloodstains on here.
The condition of Veronica's clothing indicates that the rape was not a random act of violence.
In most rape cases, there's some signs of force. Maybe there are tears in the clothing, which there were not any on the scene. It may have been more like a date rape, someone that she knew, and it went too far.
Later that day, the victim was identified as Veronica Jefferson, a 24-year-old government accountant recently moved to the Washington, D.C. area from Oklahoma. Veronica had recently become a CPA, and at the time of her death, she was working as a finance officer for the CIA. Nothing in her background suggested any motive for her murder. The day after the murder, Veronica's red Camaro with its distinctive personal plates reading Ms. VLJ was discovered parked at a supermarket just 2 blocks from her apartment. The vehicle was unlocked, the keys missing. The vehicle was examined for fingerprints using a portable argon laser. The car appeared to have been wiped clean. The interior of the vehicle was also examined.
John, looks like we have a receipt inside, time and date stamped.
This receipt showed that Veronica had left the market at 9:30 p.m.
Purse on the left rear seat.
Surprisingly, Veronica's cash and credit cards were found intact.
Box cutter.
This box cutter and the location of the car focused the investigation on workers at the supermarket. Detectives Carrig and Mercer began to question the store's 186 employees.
We're going to do interviews, and you agreed to cooperate? Okay. Yeah, you would,
I'll take you two. Why don't you follow me?
how about this gentleman?
One good suspect admitted that he had seen her the day that she was killed in the supermarket, and he was able to describe her all the way down to her red shoes. Did you ever talk to her?
Yeah, I talked to her a few times. I sort of had a thing for her, but she wasn't interested in me.
When we were able to narrow the field down from 186 down to 6, it was my job to get a sample of their blood to either eliminate them and go on then to other investigative leads, or possibly to find the individual that committed this crime.
These tests were important, as body fluid found at the crime scene showed a rare blood type common to only 4% of the population. The suspect could definitively be identified by cross-checking this blood type with a DNA sample, also taken from the body fluid. However, in this instance, there were no matchups. All 6 suspects were cleared. 4 days after Veronica's murder, dramatic new evidence surfaced when an off-duty police officer claimed he had seen Veronica the night she was killed in the company of a man who was at the wheel of her car.
That evening, I was on my way to work. It was approximately 10:15 in the evening. While I was waiting to make a left, there was a car approaching me from the opposite direction. It had its bright lights on me. That's what first drew my attention to the car. As this car turned the corner, he ran over the curb, and I don't mean just bumped it, but really ran over the curb. As the car turned, I noticed a license plate on the car. They were personalized tags, and they read Ms. VLJ. I figured the car belonged to the girl in the passenger seat. The driver was apparently very involved in conversation as he was driving slow and weaving up the road. It did not seem like there was any trouble in the car. It seemed like they were engaged in a very in-depth conversation. The woman got out of the car. She bent down, and they had words for 15, 20 seconds. She wasn't in any distress. She wasn't frantic. They just seemed to be friends, and he was saying goodbye. I got tired of watching and went around the car and on my way. The more and more I thought about it, the more I wished that I could have pulled this person over at this time, and in some way, maybe that would have prevented the death of Miss Jefferson.
After Doug Taylor's account on what he saw and who was driving, we felt that it had to have been someone that Veronica was familiar with, a friend, an old friend, someone she really felt comfortable with in order to let them drive her car.
From Veronica's roommates and family, we were able to get a list of male friends and acquaintances of Veronica's. All her male friends that we know of to this point have been interviewed, blood has been taken, and all have been eliminated as suspects.
After Veronica's friends were cleared, the investigation reached a complete standstill. But in May of 1989, a year after the murder, 2 eyewitnesses came forward. They remember seeing Veronica in the supermarket less than 2 hours before she was killed.
On the night in question, my wife and I both went to the supermarket to pick up a few items. On arriving at the deli counter, I noticed this very attractive, I would say beautiful, girl. Hello.
Hi, may I help you?
Yes, I'd like a man approached her and started a conversation with her.
Salad, right?
No.
Come on, I know it's gotta be salad with you looking that good.
I had the distinct impression that he was trying to pick her up because I generally had the feeling that he did not know her or had not been in any previous company of hers.
A few minutes later, Mrs. Flanagan saw Veronica outside the market talking with the same man.
I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could watch the body language, and I had the feeling that something was wrong. She continually looked around the parking lot. She looked as if she was searching for someone who knew her or someone to get her out of this situation. But she did smile at him, she did laugh, and I had an uneasy feeling about it. But it wasn't that dramatic enough that would have made me push ahead to say, do you need help?
According to the Flanagan's testimony, Veronica was approached by a stranger who later may have killed her. But Doug Taylor saw her with what appeared to be a friend at the wheel of her car.
There's a possibility that the suspect was once involved with Veronica and no one else knew that. He feels that his identity will never be known because of that fact.
The man described by the Flanagans was a black male approximately 6 feet 3 inches in height and weighed about 170 pounds. He was described as a clean-cut bodybuilder type.
We continue to investigate unsolved homicides until the end. They may not be solved, but they're never forgotten. I think it's important that the killer understand that we will not stop looking for him. And it's important for him to know that so he doesn't think that because a year has passed that he's gotten away with this crime, because he has not. We are still looking and we will find him.
For every mystery, there is someone, somewhere, who knows the truth. Perhaps that someone is watching. Perhaps it's you.